Hello, I'm here to talk to you today about our research project, what research has to say about phonics and phonemic awareness. The first program I looked at was the See the Sounds Visual Phonics Intervention Program. This program has traditionally been used with children who are partially or fully deaf as a way to help them learn to read. However, the research that I looked into used it as an intervention for students who were at risk due to difficulties discriminating between sounds in the English language. So consequently, they would have problems associating those sounds with the appropriate letter or letter combinations. Traditionally, letter sound relations require that the student perceive the individual sounds with appropriate letters. So a lack of phonemic awareness and beginning phonics understanding can really hinder the child's ability to become an effective reader. So in the study that I looked at, they used this program with some at-risk students who received direct and systematic instruction in phonemic skills and were still resistant to those traditional instructional materials. The See the Sound phonics system consists of 46 unique hand cues and symbols that represents the sounds in the English language. That includes vowels, consonants, diphthongs, and digraphs. The makers of this program describe it as a simplified visual kinesthetic version of the International Phonetic Alphabet. When teaching, each student is taught one hand cue for each of the 46 sounds. Each hand cue is associated in some way with the production of that particular sound in the mouth. The example that I give here is the hand cue for the T. It's made by flicking the forefinger off the thumb, and in the same way that the tongue would flick off the top of the mouth. They also provide the student with a written symbol, which is a simplified picture of the hand cue. Most beginning readers will remember this hand cue and look at their hand when they write the symbol, and that helps them to establish a visual and kinesthetic link to the word sounds. The researchers in the study wanted to measure how effective this system could be when used with students of normal hearing. The study that I looked at was conducted using 12 students who ranged in age from 5 to 6 years old, and they took place over the course of a 9-week period. They tested the students using dibbles both before and after they had completed their research. So after they had finished testing, the approach produced gains in fluency and phoneme segmentation fluency across the board for all of these students. They all significantly increased. As far as what the results find, I see that it seems to have the most use in early elementary school with those students who are just beginning to learn letter-sound correspondence. They have sort of like a fresh slate, so to speak, that they can really pick up on this a lot faster maybe than your older students who already have made associations. Students, I think, also respond really well to the kinesthetic nature of the program, especially those younger students who really do like to move around and, may find more value in associating the movement with the sounds and thus making it easier for them to pick up. Some of the cons that I saw, which would make this maybe not as a good program for every school, is that it really is designed for a very specific population of students, so it may be a hard sell for a school board to buy it and invest the time and energy required into training. Also, the educator using this system would have to be very fluent in the hand signs and the symbols that are used in order to teach them effectively. This would probably be a very difficult task for a general education teacher to accomplish, especially when they're trying to meet the needs of so many students. It might be they might not find that it's worth the investment of their time. As far as special educators go, it might be a better fit for them, but it would be very time consuming to learn this whole system just for a very small segment of the population.
Students in regular education with learning disabilities have a difficult time with phonemic awareness. Imagine adding the disability of being blind. Perkins School for the Blind has adapted one program for students with phonemic awareness deficits to accommodate their students. Teachers use the Wilson Reading System, an intensive instructional strategies program to remediate reading, regular spelling patterns, comprehension, vocabulary, reading, and writing. According to the study by Hannon, Wicker, and Aaron in 2012, using the Wilson Reading System is an effective, successful alternative to the reading program. Teachers adapted and modified Wilson to Braille aspects. Notebooks are used as a reference guide throughout the program of concepts. Blind students used electronic note-taking or computer technology. Keywords helped connect sounds to symbols. Finger tapping techniques aid in segmentation and blending of sounds to make words. Braille worksheets were created to practice both standard and contracted Braille. Practice of finger placement, tracking lines, moving down a line, and letter and word discrimination were incorporated for students with Braille concept deficits. Barbara A. Wilson created and published WRS in 1989. The Orton-Gillingham-based program amplifies phonological coding research. Segmentation, alphabetical process of sound, and symbol relationship and word structure and analysis are all part of research-based strategies for phonemic awareness deficits. Reading accuracy and fluency and spelling are another key components to the success of WRS. WRS is cumulative and uses multisensory activities. Mastery and automaticity are explicitly taught, moving from phonemes to symbols, words, multisyllabic words, phrases, sentences, and then passages. A repetitive, predictable structure will drill and review included increases student confidence and decreases frustration. Pictured here are instructor materials. Hannon et al. Found that when students, including Student A from Perkins School for the Blind, write questions first as instructed by Wilson Comprehension SOS before reading the passage, it increased comprehension, decoding, and fluency. Experiencing success from the beginning increases learning and fosters positive attitudes towards academics. One student, Student A, was inconsistent in correct vowel sounds in familiar words. Small objects were used instead of keyword picture cards to connect sound to symbol. Student A learned only a couple of concepts at a time for mastery, which only included a few whole letter Braille contractions. Teachers also incorporated standard Braille for complete understanding. Students A and B were able to access and comprehend information in text and function independently in school, at home, and within the community. Student B graduated and became an adaptive computer technician after learning reading through Wilson. Student B now helps other blind or visual impaired students access Wilson through assistive technology. Teachers at Perkins use the program for language skills, comprehension, behavioral and attention deficits, low motivation, and poor execution of functioning skills. Perkins planned a workshop to all vision educators in the state, thereby spreading awareness of the adoption of Wilson to the blind population. Perkins invited American Printing House for the Blind to produce a Braille and large print version of Wilson Reading System, making it accessible across the USA. Using Wilson Reading System and its counterparts for younger children, Fundations has increased student learning and comprehension of reading. Pictured here are student materials. Students who came to the classroom frustrated and feeling defeated soon became comfortable and confident. My daughter's visual impairment was a big hurdle in her learning concepts in school and put her behind the curve. Having an additional disability in phonemic awareness would definitely take a toll on a child's academic success as well as self-confidence. Wilson lays a foundation for confidence and success in reading. Wilson provides individualized lessons for skill deficits and is leveled toward the student's reading ability and not grade level. Kinesthetic learning, a research-based multisensory approach for phonemic awareness, aids in retention of concepts. Drills are done every day for mastery learning. Wilson Reading System and Fundations are intense reading programs for students with learning disabilities. Fundations has lesson plans included in the manual for ease of use. Both WS and Fundations must be done in small groups to be effective. Levels cannot be combined and mastery learning will not be achieved. WRS and Fundations are geared for a slower pace than normal state grade level regular education. Barbara Wilson and her researchers highly suggested 90 minutes every day for 3 to 5 days for effective instruction. Teachers know how planning all the components of state-mandated curriculum, along with fine arts lunch and recess, in an 8-hour day is a balancing act. The original program is mostly visual, then auditory and kinesthetic. Adapting Wilson to Braille will help another special education demographic to access regular education curriculum at the student's own pace of learning. The Orton-Gillingham approach was designed to help struggling students read, write, and spell. It is a multisensory program to meet all types of learners. This individualized program of teaching Phonics and Phonemic Awareness helps students with learning disabilities. The program is cumulative, starting from alphabetic principles to word analysis, chunking, syllables, roots, prefixes, and suffixes. The use of Orton-Gillingham in public schools as an early prevention program, intervention program, or special education program can cut down on costly judicial cases between parents and school districts. Budgetary and time constraints put a damper on usage of such programs in the general education environment and sometimes special education. Teachers can use Orton-Gillingham as a diagnostic tool as well as a teaching program. Progress monitoring is built in as well to ensure mastery of the content and provide opportunities for differentiation or reteaching. Small group individualized level instruction is appropriate for all grade and ability levels. Orton-Gillingham can also be used to modify for one-on-one and whole class instruction to meet the needs of all learners. Pictured here is the student interacting with OG. Samuel Torrey Orton and Anna Gillingham created the Orton-Gillingham approach in 1930. Ritchie and Goke, 2006, discovered that the best way to bridge the gap for students with learning disabilities and phonemic awareness is to capitalize on the auditory components of children in order for them to produce their own spoken form of the word from its graphic counterparts. Studies also showed that when students have fun learning, it positively impacts personal meaning and retention. Engagement is increased when learning is presented as games, and the high interest in academic concepts leads to success in learning how to read. OG has been found effective in word reading, word attack decoding, spelling, and comprehension by researchers. In 1979, Lichter and Roberg conducted a study of children with reading deficits and the impact of Orton-Gillingham on learning. Students were assessed at the end of the year by a state reading assessment. Students who received instruction with the OG method increased word knowledge, word analysis, comprehension, and total reading. The group who received instruction with traditional base level readers and their components only scored equally in vocabulary. In 2000, the National Reading Panel found Orton-Gillingham to be effective for phonemic deficits because of its systematic phonics approach and direct instruction. Joshi et al. In 2002 compared a basal reading program to OG and found that the group who used the basal only scored equally in comprehension. The OG group increased in phonological awareness, decoding and reading comprehension. Again, state tests were used as a controlled assessment. In a study by Zirkle and DeAngelo, 2002, lawsuits against special education resulted in private schooling that had to be paid by the school district. Reading and spelling are taught at the same time, making instruction time for a separate spelling lesson unnecessary. The multisensory approach is specifically effective for students with dyslexia and language processing deficits. The OG method is not scripted and therefore gives teachers some creative flexibility in lesson planning. Simultaneous teaching of parts of words and whole words are incorporated into the lessons for complete understanding of concepts. OG can be used for RTI to help at-risk students. The direct systematic phonics approach like Orton-Gillingham is also beneficial for adult struggling readers. Comprehension is increased when readers can decode words and infer meanings. Orton-Gillingham is also effective for dyslexia, which opens access to reading for an additional demographic of learners. When public schools utilize programs such as Orton-Gillingham, it cuts on the need for further specialized schooling at private institutes that also use the program, which school districts must pay for when responsible for the student. Parents are more satisfied with public schooling of children districts and are able to use funds for teacher training and implementation of the programs, and the community is at ease due to the decrease in legal cases. Advocacy groups and parents of children with reading disabilities often highly recommend OG instruction. Although I have no personal experience with pure Orton-Gillingham, I have studied the Blast Off to Reading series from OG. The multisensory, direct, systematic, phonics-based approach is appropriate and effective for students with learning disabilities in reading. Orton-Gillingham is individualized, repetitive, cumulative, and multisensory, which has been proven to be effective for struggling students with learning disabilities in reading. The program can be used one-on-one, small group, or whole class. Pictured here is a student working one-on-one with a teacher. The Blast Off to Reading series is based on 30-minute lessons, which are optimum for small group differentiation in the real world of teaching. However, it is most effective when used in small groups of 45-minute sessions with one teacher per group. The Blast Off to Reading series focuses on words only and maxes out with sentences. This is not a whole reading instruction series. Teachers would have to create their own lesson plans to include reading longer text and vocabulary and comprehension instruction. It is very frustrating when communities, parents, and even teachers see the positive effects of such a program as Orton-Gillingham, but public school districts are unwilling to support these programs due to lack of funding for special education or intervention teachers. In the end, the lawsuit cases against districts will outweigh the initial cost of setting up intervention programs to help struggling students learn to read, comprehend, spell, and write. Some students who are born in the United States have difficulty with reading and fall behind on skills for phonemic awareness. But what if you weren't born hearing, speaking, or writing English? English language learners are most susceptible to falling behind in English language arts, especially reading. And Ohio requires that all ELL students are tested in English proficiency every year that they are in school. Explode the Code and iSpire are two programs specifically tailored towards teaching important reading skills for ESL. Both programs, offered by Educators Publishing Service Literacy and Intervention, are effective because they have visual and auditory lessons designed as fun and games. Explode the Code and iSpire are multi-leveled, which is recommended for differentiation. Explode the Code includes 8 books that are themed for sounds, beginning reading, and additional practice. Pictured here are student materials. The program comes with its own placement assessments, which serves as dual progress monitoring and unit comprehension tests. Teachers can use assessments to group students and then match the themed books to the groups. iSpire offers 7 areas of reading focus: phonological awareness, phonics, spelling, fluency, vocabulary comprehension, and handwriting. iSpire provides immediate feedback which teachers can use to drive curriculum. It is highly recommended that teachers provide 60 minutes worth of instructional time 5 days a week for the program to reach optimum effectiveness. Both programs highlight the 6 manipulative skills necessary for building phonemic awareness discovered by Yop, 1992. Matching identity, recognizing elements in words or word parts; isolation, recognizing beginning, middle, and ending sound or word parts; substitution, changing the word by replacing a beginning or other sound word part with a different sound or word part; segmenting, separating individual phonemes or word parts within words; blending, putting together phonemes word parts to form new words, deleting, saying the word part without a specified word or word part. Both programs meet the research-based needs for instruction that must be at the right level of challenge, according to Gresham 2001. Chall and Pop of 1996 were ahead of their time when they discovered that words had two kinds of meanings, meaning of print and meaning of ideas. In 2000, the National Reading Panel found that systematic, direct instruction of phonics and phonemic awareness was the best practice for students from kindergarten through 6th grade. In 1990 and 98, Adams and Stahl impressed the importance of alphabetic principles as one of the cornerstones to early reading skills. In 1998, Airy discovered 4 phases of reading that students go through: pre-alphabetic, partial alphabetic, full alphabetic, and consolidated alphabetic. All the research indicates that children who struggle with phonics and phonemic awareness cannot derive meaning from words. By the time the child has used energy figuring out the word, the context of the sentence is lost. Mutter and Snowing, 1998, found that phonemic awareness was a significant predictor of reading accuracy in the first year of school as well as at age 9. When ELA students were studying with the use of iSpire, several initial tests were used to provide baseline data. The specific assessments for iSpire program, the state tests given to all students for reading proficiency, and national tests geared toward determining a reading disability, all post-tests showed a significant gain in vocabulary, comprehension, phoneme decoding, proficiency, total word reading proficiency, and overall reading proficiency. EPS Literacy and Intervention provides educators with curriculum-based materials for teaching English language arts, especially in the intervention environment. Explode the Code and iSpire are 2 products that foster progress and confidence through the feeling of success with students that have deficits in phonemic awareness. Explode the Code is a complete program with no need for supplementary materials. Answer keys are included for ease of student evaluation and immediate feedback and differentiation. Practice is in the form of games for cooperative learning groups. This series fits the Common Core standards that is mandated in most school districts. Strategies for ELL students is also included with the program. Program assessments provide an in-depth diagnosis of skills for placement in all types of intervention. iSpire adds the additional benefit to be totally individualized digitally. Pictured here is the iSpire tablet. This is another way to provide stations or small group time. Students are motivated more to do work when technology is involved. Even students with mild to moderate disabilities benefit from digital instruction, as it is self-paced and lessons are automatically assigned for assessments for better leveling. iSpire's assessment zones proficiently place students in the level where the student has first presented difficulty. The assessments are aligned with the scope and sequence of the program itself and starts at the beginning of a unit for further deeper understanding of concepts. Explode the Code and iSpire are used in the school in which I teach. Both programs offer engaging research-based strategies for teaching struggling students how to read. It does not merely teach words, but how words are formed and the rules of typical spelling. It teaches meaning and multiple meanings of words. ESL is an additional part of reading in the United States as more immigrants enter our country and make it their own. ELL students have to adapt to the language of their new native land. Learning not what words only sound like and how they are spelled, but also what they mean is an integral part of learning a new language. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing go hand in hand with understanding. Even in European languages, the meaning of words can change according to context in reading and the way it sounds and is spelled. Explode the Code and iSpire are mobile with their online presence. The lessons are individualized for student skill level. The programs automatically assign the next lesson to learn, and teachers can pull progress reports to see how much and at what rate students are learning. Since Explode the Code Online and iSpire are web-based, schools must provide students with access to the Internet. If students do not have access to the Internet at home, then the only exposure they will get to lessons is in school. Teachers need to provide adequate time on these programs to be effective for reading deficits. These programs are designed for small groups. Whole class instruction is not feasible since students will not get the necessary teacher instruction and guidance to achieve reading proficiency goals. However, districts are embracing the global education initiative of including technology in more and more schools. What a better way to aid ELL students to access not only the English language, but still connect with their own language and explore other countries.
Another system that we looked at was the Lexia Core 5 reading system. This program is made by the Lexia Learning Company and is described by them as computer-assisted instruction. It's targeted towards special needs students in phonics comprehension and reading instruction, but it also can be used with general education students as well. This program uses auditory, visual, and tactile kinesthetic stimuli as the students learn. It gives also is a way to give the student individualized, differentiated instructional practice time without placing demands on the teacher's prep time, because the computer is essentially pacing the lessons and controlling the progress of the student based on their responses. It's considered to be tailored to the individual students with self-pacing, and it also gives the student immediate feedback. They know exactly what they're doing wrong as they're doing. It is designed to be of interest to students with reading difficulties, those who may be turned off by paper and pencil work. This is something that they can do in the computer, so it's almost fun for them, like a game. The age range of that this is designed for is 4 to adult, and it is a means of delivering explicit instruction for practice in phonemic awareness in phonics and achieving gains in vocabulary, fluency, and reading comprehension. As the students are working in the program, it's providing an ongoing assessment. So all of the things that they're doing are being recorded and assessed, but is not disrupting the flow of the instruction as the students are receiving it. They most of the time are not even aware that they're being assessed as they're working through the program. The computer then takes that information and provides benchmarking and academic goals that the teacher, when they look to see where their students are at, they can access that data and see exactly where every student in their class is at, where they might need some reteaching and further instruction. When they give those results, they are displayed in a chart format that is easier for the teacher to interpret. It usually goes by the standards, and it'll tell whether or not the student has met the goals in that particular standard. It'll also give the educator a data-driven action plan that they can use to provide the differentiated instruction that's necessary. And the program itself also gives supplemental learning materials that the teacher can print out and use with students who are struggling with a specific concept. When the student first gets on Lexia, they're giving a diagnostic assessment that places them on a reading level that matches their ability. They have to almost go through levels, and in order to progress through the program, they must complete tasks that are targeted at specific skills. The students listen to the material on headphones. They use that to hear the word sounds, and then they use the mouse to click on the images and provide specific responses related to word sounds. If the student gives an incorrect response, the program will back the student up and have them perform the task until success is reached. As with any program, this program does have its benefits and drawbacks to use. Some of the things I thought that were positive about it is that it can be used as an alternative to traditional instruction. I see it as a great station activity that can be used as a way of helping a teacher differentiate instruction. A teacher may be working in a small group with students, or even one-on-one, while other students, may be at the Lexia station working on that the skills that they need. Schools are also really trying to move away from the worksheet paper pencil form of instruction as a means of delivering material. So this does present an alternative that can be used. And students really do enjoy working on computers, so this is a great way to engage them, especially those who may struggle with attention. This program also provides educators with valuable information that can be used in ability assessments and growth tracking. The information obtained from this program can be used to help teachers target specific areas of difficulty for students. So as they look back on the diagnostic information they're given, they can see exactly where the strengths and weaknesses are. These strengths and weaknesses can be used to make academic decisions and to assist in creating small groups for targeted instruction later on in the general education setting. Some of the things that I saw that were not so great about this program is that really it should not be used as a standalone reading program. The studies that I looked at showed that when used alone and not used correctly, the students didn't show as much gain. You can't expect to place a struggling reader in front of a computer and have the computer just give them the information they need without any extra effort by the teacher. There has to be that one-on-one instruction. Students who have been identified at risk or struggling may be able to use this program as a supplement to the existing curriculum or as another means of receiving explicit instruction, but not alone. It is also very important for teachers to use the supplementary material that is provided by the program. A lot of times they will just put the students in front of the program and expect that the program is going to do all the work for them, and the teacher really needs to be looking and paying attention, printing out the materials that will help get the student to mastery in the different areas. The programming also does not allow for variation in the way it handles student errors. It will repeat the same series of instructions over and over again and ask the students to answer the same series of questions every time a mistake is made. So that means if a student is struggling with a certain concept or a level, it will just keep taking them back to the beginning of the level, repeating the same instruction, asking them to perform the same task over and over and over again. This can be very frustrating for a student who is not grasping the concept accurately and doesn't seem to be getting the answers correct. It's almost like it's on a repeat mode, which can be very frustrating for the student. A lot of times students may be unwilling to continue on the program as a result because they are just hearing the same instructions over and over again without having any resolution. The last program that we are looking at is the Clay's Reading Recovery Program. This program was developed as a result of the work of Marie M. Clay, who was from New Zealand. She did a lot of studies with reading and early literacy in the 60s and 70s, and that led to the development of this program, which started seeing use in the 1980s. This system is used as a one-on-one intervention strategy, and it's designed for use with children who are determined to be at risk for reading failure in the first year of school. The educators who use this system are trained in systematic observation of literacy behaviors, and those observations help to drive the instruction and to help them to create a program that is individualized for every student that is being used with. The system is designed to take at-risk students who are below average in their reading levels to average or above average, and it does this 2/3 of the time that it is used. As a result, it is seeing a lot of use in different countries. Instruction in reading is given by experiences with reading that are designed to be interesting and to motivate students to learn. It is believed through the work of Marie Clay that literacy skills such as phonics are learned effectively in a natural way through authentic experiences and embedded in natural language rather than teaching them phonics in isolation. Students are given the opportunity to become actively involved in the construction of knowledge through reasoning. The educators who administer this perform careful observations in order to determine what the students' interests are, what their home lives are like, what their hobbies are. Do they have pets? Do they like to travel? What their favorite colors are? Just getting to know the students and then using that information to find reading material that would interest a child and help motivate them to learn. For example, the story The Cat in the Hat can often be used as a funny story, but also teaches commonly used sight words and things of that nature rather than giving them a list to memorize. The reading material chosen helps to drive the instruction and is used to assess the reading ability of the students. So an example of like a week of a person using this program. Each lesson lasts 30 to 40 minutes. It's given one-on-one, used only in the first grade. The first day of instruction would invite the student to talk about a life experience or tell stories about a topic that is related to a book that the educator has chosen ahead of time. This book would have been chosen based on the interest of and reading ability of the student in question. When the student has done talking about the personal stories maybe that they have in relation to the topic, then he or she is prompted to come up with a sentence about what they have just spoken about. The teacher would then write that sentence on a long piece of paper. After the sentence has been written on a long piece of paper, the student would then read the chosen book while the teacher identified unknown words and made note of them. On the second day of instruction, the teacher may then give the student a notepad and ask him or her to draw a picture based on the personal story that they told yesterday. After the, and asking them to add details, if it's about camping, where's your campfire? Where are you camping at? Are you going to fish? You're trying to get them to really immerse themselves in the experience and become excited about it. After that, the student would then take the sentence that had been written by the teacher the previous day and maybe cut it up into one-word chunks. Then the teacher and the student would arrange those chunks into a sentence. After they had been arranged correctly, the student would then write that sentence on a piece of paper. Now, as the student is writing, the teacher does not ask the student to correct illegibility or to reform the words. They just allow the student to write the sentence on the piece of paper that they have come up with. The third day, the student would start to manipulate some of those words that they may have had difficulty with in the story. The student would hear words from the book that they may have had difficulty with, and then do an activity such as maybe taking magnetic letters and breaking them apart, finding similar words, doing onset and rhyme, just really working with the words and kind of having a good time doing it. The student may also be asked to come up with movements for the chosen words. So say you have hat, cat, and fat. For hat, the student may put their hands over the head to make a hat. A cat maybe brush invisible whiskers, and then fat maybe pat the belly. And just the teacher would say the word, the student would complete a movement to go along with that. After that, the student may read the book again. The fourth day is the assessment day. This is where the student or the teacher is going to assess the student's ability. The student is asked to read the book again, and the teacher will mark miscues. The miscue information is placed into a running record for oral reading proficiency, and every student has one, and it is kept every week. It is updated. The other work the student has done throughout the week, such as the drawings and the sentence work and stuff like that, could be placed into a portfolio that can be used to measure and show progress throughout the year. Finally, on the fifth day of instruction, the teacher sits down, analyzes the student progress, looks at the oral reading proficiency progress, and uses that information as well as information about the student to determine what reading material should be used for the next week. And then the next week comes and the whole process starts over again with a different book. There are many benefits to using this system. It has been widely used. So there's a lot of research backing its effectiveness. It has proven to be effective with at-risk students in the first grade. There was a study that gathered data over a 17-year period, and it showed that in the United States, 60% of all children served could read at class average after their lessons, and 81% of those children have had the full series of lessons read at class average. It also addresses many of the needs of these students by using their own interest as a guide for instruction, so they naturally will gain the motivation and the confidence because they're working with content they want to know more about. This naturally, as a result, will increase their engagement and excitement in reading. Students also learn how to appreciate reading and become lifelong readers because they're having positive experiences with real books. They are seeing the benefit of reading in their everyday life. The system, like I said, is data-driven, and it is naturally individualized to meet the needs of all the students who are using it. The educator keeps running logs and a portfolio of the student's work, so this can be easily referenced to determine growth. The information gathered can determine what material is being used week to week, so there's a flexibility there because the educator can choose material that's relevant to the needs of the student at that time. They're not locked into a routine that has been given to them, which is unmovable, where they just continue on without addressing the needs of the student. Some of the issues that I did see with that, though, were that this system is only designed for use with students who are in the first grade. So many students, as we all know, are not accurately identified with reading problems till after that. I know that in West Virginia that most students don't get diagnosed with reading problems till almost in third grade. So this program would be of no use to these students because it is only designed for first grade. The program is also developed for use as a supplementary intervention method, so it should be used in conjunction with an existing reading curriculum. Because of the cost of this and the small population of students that it could be used with, it might not be cost effective for use in a school district that operates on a tight budget. They may want to look at options that will serve a wider population of students.
The next two slides are the references.